Oh, right there. The Crustle has launched that rock slide off. Who in this lane is likely going to secure the farm? It's probably going to be the Rolts. Why Crustle is considered one of the top defender picks both in the solo queue meta and in the competitive meta, with a high pick rate and a high ban rate for a defender across the board. Let's start by looking at the data. So we head over to Unite API and we can see Crustle in terms of a win rate is very, very high up there. 52% for a defender is incredibly strong. Okay, it is the highest win rate defender currently in the meta. If we have a look at the pick rate, it's actually outpicked by other defenders like Trevenant, Slowbro, and Umbreon. Given these defenders are probably a lot more fun to play in solo queue, Crustle seems to be doing, better overall. And in terms of ban rates, this is still based off of 15th of April, so it's not necessarily the new season yet. However, we frequently see Crustle getting banned in competitive matches, and yeah, there's good reason for this because it's just a very, very strong Pokemon across the board, hence why we're going to be talking about him today. So the particular move we're looking at is Rock Tomb, right? Rock Tomb for the 4 builds is the build that has the highest win rate, 53% with X-Scissor and 52% with Stealth Rocks. Now, eject button does consistently better in both builds, so I'd strongly suggest running an eject button, and there's a good reason for why eject button does well. We're going to be ignoring Shell Smash just because, like, below 50% win rate. Yeah, we're going to explain it, but I'm going to point to you and explain as to why Rock Tomb is the better move. So that's the data, that's what we're looking at, and what are the builds and how can we understand this Pokemon. So we start straight away with the build. We're looking at Rock Tomb and X-Scissor. It's EXP Share, Focus Band, and Resonant Guard. You could potentially swap Buddy Barrier. I think Focus Band's pretty useful because you are tanky. Yeah, however, the mathematics people are saying a Buddy Barrier, that's definitely an option as well. And as you can see, the other Rocks build has got the exact same item situation there. And you can see they're not recommending an eject button on that particular build. I think eject button is just good for the build regardless, simply because of how his UniteMove works. So let's go over some of these skills and then we're going to demonstrate them in practice mode and then analyze some professional gameplay with the most recent NA finals. And we're going to have a look at why Crustle is super strong and the place that you can make in your solo queue games. So we start with his ability. You gain defense and special defense for every 7% of your missing HP. So when you get to your last 30% of your HP, this is going to be stacking quite a bit. And as you can see, this scales with your levels. Okay, it's the slider, it's the scaler. As your level increase, this is going to go up quite a bit. So you can see at level 4, let's say, it's 12 defense, so you can times that by 10, so you get an extra 120 defense when you're low on HP and special defense. Whereas if you scale that all the way across to level 13, you can see that goes to 30, and yeah, you times that by 10 for the 10 stacks, that's 30 defense and special defense. That's very, very chunky, hence why Crustle is very thick at late game and hard to take out. What does this boosted auto do? Well, all it's really doing is it does a little bit of AoE damage, that's what it says here, and it decreases the enemy movement speed. So it's very, very good with its lane pressure. Now, why do we think Crustle is a decent pick? Okay, so like we talked about here, early game, Rock Slide, you don't want to be doing damage to the enemy. You want to hit it and you'll see there's stuns, right? It stuns the star on that dummy's head for a second. That's really, really convenient because when you go down to this bottom lane here, right, this is what you want to be doing. You want to make sure that you're hitting this right, and then when the enemy come, you want to stun them right out of their secure like that. You drop the rocks here, or you might drop the rocks in the bush, and you turn around and do as much damage, right? Because you stun them for a second, so bang, they're stunned, and then you cast your skill with your teammate, right? You might even, if you're like the pro, you might have 1, 2 ready to go, so your boosted's ready, and then you stun them, boosted, Fury Cutter, right? So you're doing as much damage to the enemy as you possibly can, just getting that early game combo off. Yeah, you want to be doing that, right? That's nice. This is the skill that really makes Crustle kind of annoying, right? It's the skill cap skill. Okay, have a look at the terrain of the map, right? You put this wall up there, no one can walk through here, right? You know, for at least for that 3-second time period. So if you notice that some enemies are kind of in this choke here, they need to be careful, because if you just put that wall up, they can get caught in here big time, right? It's really, really good at zoning enemies as well, because let's say your team's ripping the Rayquaza and you can just put that wall up, and it makes it tricky for the enemy to try and walk past, you know, to get into the Rayquaza pit to try and get the secure, right? Have a look at how much you can block around the Rayquaza pit. You can put it there. That's kind of annoying. You know, symmetrically, you could put it there. You can put it here. You can put it down here, right? You can block that section off as well. You can block, yep, by symmetry, this section off here. It's also really good at defending goal zones, right? So if you're all the way back here getting your berries, the enemy is scoring, you can put that up, and then after they get their scores, they can get caught there. That can be a little bit tricky for the enemies to try and deal with there, right? Let's say you're in this section here and you're trying to get the secure down. Let me just turn this dude off. And your team's trying to get the secure. You can see their team's running through here. You can put that wall up preemptively, and their team's not going to be able to walk through that passageway, right? It's also pretty good here. You know, you can block up a good chunk of that passageway coming down this way. And also, if you can place your wall well enough here, you'll block that off completely as well. So changing the terrain in the map with this rock tomb is what makes this skill incredibly valuable, right? Let's say their jungle is coming in after you're trying to get a whole bunch of score. You can put that up, and more or less it forces the enemy team to have to use their mobility skills or their eject button to play aggressively towards your team or defensively. Now, if you haven't noticed, while I'm getting hit in the bottom corner here, you can see these sturdy stacks are increasing. So that just means that my defense is going up. Let me see if I can bring up my stats here, right? Have a look at my defenses. They're going to go up each time that stack goes up. So you can see that defense and special defense is increasing as the bees are attacking me there. So you become thicker as you are lower on health, right? Really, really useful to know. Okay, your X-Scissor, when you're hitting an enemy into a wall, like we saw, if you hit them into the wall, you can see they're stunned. And you can tell that the enemy is stunned by the stars on the head. If I attack this way, no stars, right? You can also stun them into your rock tomb, right? So here, 1, 2, 3, and he's got the stars over his head, right? He's a little bit sore. He's got a bit of a headache from that X-Scissor, right? So it's any wall in the map. So play this as you will. You can see when we're launching off these X-Scissors, I'm going to say I probably won't be able to get the Indeedee into the wall here. I know we do. We get him into the wall, but if we have a look at this Bumblebee trying to get him into this top wall here, if we stand a little bit further back, we're not going to get him. But if we stand right next to the Bumblebee, we're going to be able to get him into the wall. So just understand when you're using X-Scissor, how far away the farm is from you and how close you are to the farm, you know, and where the wall is and all that kind of stuff, right? So all of this is getting taken into consideration when we're using Crustle. The last one is our UniteMove. Okay, let's have a look at what the UniteMove does. What happens? You're just a big ball of anger, right? And you can see this, you know, you get the UniteMove effects, which is like increased movement speed and everything like that. And then those rocks around you go away, right? That's all that revenge damage. So when is this handy, right? Well, what can you do? If you notice the enemies are very clumped up in here, right? You can make it tricky for them to get away because you can put your wall there, meaning they can't go back through that choke point there. And it's a little bit tricky to get up and around this point. So if you notice the enemies are overcommitted and they're diving on you, you can launch that off, queue up your UniteMove, and then eject towards them, right? And after you use this UniteMove, you just want to stay in the face of the enemy, right? You can see we're doing damage, but as these bees start to hit me, I'll be doing additional damage to them, right? It's that revenge damage. You can see the revenge damage coming off there. So all of that is happening while you are doing nothing. You're just in that particular area. Now have a look at the shield you get. It's huge, right? Have a look at the shield. So think of the counter matchup that could potentially be at play for you, right? I'll let you have a small think about it. So that particular Pokemon who could counter you is Umbreon, right? Because what Umbreon's UniteMove will do is it will take away the shield from you, which is not necessarily ideal. You want to keep that shield right on top of you and then get right into the face of the enemy and do a whole bunch of damage there. So that's that particular moveset. We could very, very briefly talk about the other moveset, which is Rock Tomb and Stealth Rocks. What can we do here? Well, we can do the same thing here, but we notice when we use Stealth Rocks, it's just going to hit, and it's doing additional damage, right? So see the first tick does less damage. See, it's like more. So every tick will do additional damage to the enemy. Now, let's say you want to throw these into the bush here, but there's a wall there. What's going to get blocked by the wall, right? Because you're throwing a bunch of rocks. So You need to take this into consideration. You can't throw rocks over walls. And does this count for your stealth rock wall? You can bet you it does, right? It gets caught there. So that's honestly kind of nice. Like if you know that you want to trap the enemies there, all your stealth rocks are going to get placed in that particular spot there, right? So that's nice. That's very good. How good is it at ripping an objective? Well, okay, let's actually go to the Rayquaza to test that out, right? You can see we throw some rocks on here and it does quite a bit of damage, right? That's pretty good considering that's just a whole bunch of passive experience there. How can we increase the damage output happening here? Well, we can use our stealth rocks, we can use our UniteMove, and then we can just attack, right? And have a look at just how much you're shredding this down just as a Crustle by being in this zone. X-Scissor will do plenty of damage as well. In fact, X-Scissor and Stealth Rocks is fantastic at zoning, but if you're just purely going for that flip, you can go in there with that UniteMove and do the best you can for your team, because when there's a Ray, there is a way. So let's have a look at some competitive games here, right? We're going to have a look at Yalla Bingo. Yalla Bingo, a fantastic team. And you know, they're from NA, and we're seeing their Crustle player Marv, and have a look at his build. It's Focus Band, Resonant Guard, and Experience Share with an eject button, and he's going to be taking this Pokemon through to the bottom lane, right? So you want to take this Pokemon to the bottom lane because you want to body block as much as you can. You're very, very sustainable early, especially with that ability, and you want to use those stealth, not the stealth rocks, the rock slide to be, I guess, you know, stunning the enemies out of their secure, right? Meanwhile, their other player, the Espeon player, he's going to be trying to go for the secures because this experience share is going to funnel all of this experience into him. I'm assuming he's the bot laner, or it's either the Sylveon, it's one of the two. They might jungle split. I don't actually know what these guys are up to. I haven't had a look at this game. So let's check it out. So we can have a look here and we can see that the Crustle and the Espeon are down on the bottom side there. We're currently seeing what's happening in the top lane. Okay, so now let's have a look at what's happening in the bottom lane here. We can see, hang on, let me pause this for a second. Oh, right there. So what's happened right at this particular point? The Crustle has launched that rock slide off onto the Gardevoir, who's probably in this particular lane. They've got a, what has the enemy got? They have an Eevee, which is going to be an Umbreon. That's the Umbreon here, and they've got a Ralts, right? Who in this lane is likely going to secure the farm? It's probably going to be the Ralts. So using that rock slide to stun out while we're having the Hyper Voice here, the only thing that's going to be out securing the Hyper Voice potential is this guy here. Now, if he out secures that as a Eevee turning into Umbreon, good for him. Whereas if this additional damage came out from the Gardevoir, that would be a very, very bad thing. So yeah, we should try to incorporate these plays when we're playing Defender in our solo queue matchups. Okay, let's see how they approach these bees here. So we've got the Crustle has hit level 4 from getting some of this farm, and yeah, we're hitting them there. And now have a look at this particular placement, right? So the Crustle player knows that the Ralts was in this bush, so he places the wall here, meaning that the only way for the Ralts to get out is to eject or use teleport one of his skills over that wall, putting a lot of pressure on this lane. And the reason why they're making this play rather than playing passively is because they, you know, I should say they, Yalla Bingo have an understanding that this is the farm that's spawning first. So they want to get their lane rotations happening very, very well because they want to go onto this farm and then onto that farm, and they're going to maximize their odds there if they put pressure here, force some resources out of the Ralts, putting his skills on cooldown or his battle items on cooldown, and yeah, forcing the Ralts out there. Very, very smart play. Okay, so very cool stuff here, and oh, a nice little rock tomb from sitting in the wall there. That's very cool. Yeah, so pressuring their farm, that's exactly what they're looking to do. And okay, hang on. All right, okay. I need to pause this here because I can already see what's happening. So we can see a sweep action happening here from the Sylveon, right? And this is very calculated. You can tell that they've practiced this. So the Gardevoir's looking to get away, potentially take the blue buff here, right? That's very valuable on the Gardevoir. The Sylveon recognizes this and says, all right, we've taken this farm away from you. I know that you're going to try and take this farm up here. I'm going to pressure you. And then the Crustle further goes, well, if you're going to run through there, there's no escaping that. I'm going to put that wall up and the only way for you to get back through is you're going to have to run through your lane and your flux zone, meaning that this blue buff is sitting up here. So just really pressuring the resources out of that Gardevoir. Very, very smart play. Let's see how this plays out. Yeah, so forced out there, and then is there a blue buff for the Sylveon to start hitting? That's exactly what they do. So yeah, very, very good play. That's incredibly smart. And yeah, they can see their winning top lane is coming to support there. Yeah, super pressuring. Fantastic work. And yeah, Crustle thick enough to get away there. So very nice job. And yeah, putting the wall up there, you know, to help defend against the goal zone, eats the berries, comes back. Fantastic bottom lane early. So hopefully you can see the value of the Crustle early game being very, very strong, helping his lane get online, making some of those plays. And yeah, that's essentially the early game. Okay, so you can see how fantastic that X-Scissor is at zoning the enemies away. He gets right in their face, and there's actually a Hooper portal. Does it get him out? That's just incredible teamwork, right? Yeah, and they follow up. Okay, this is just great. So the Crustle is just trying to get in the face of the enemies, using those walls to force the resources out of the enemy, you know, punishing their low mobility team. You know, Glaceon and Gardevoir, that's very, very low mobility. And yeah, like even putting a Rock Tomb around there, that's really annoying for the enemy team there, all right? It's fine if he's the only one who goes down. They get incredible value. They're able to break the goal zone. Fantastic play. All right, let's have a look at some of this positioning here. We can see the Crustle is already in the middle of the map, looking for vision, providing his team with very, very valuable vision. And okay, gets a little bit caught there. I think there is an Umbreon on the other team, so you'd imagine he's going to wait until the Umbreon uses the Unite move, and that's probably what a Yalla Bingo are trying to do. They're trying to force the Umbreon Unite out before the Crustle unites, because he can just take the shields, right? Yeah. So, okay. So as you can see, that was a very, very challenging there for the Crustle. So yeah, the Umbreon definitely countering, but yeah, his team backing out. So you can see that's probably a downside of using Crustle, is that late game, yeah, it's a little bit dependent. Guys, so hopefully you got a little bit of value from this Crustle video and this Crustle guide. We've talked through the numbers. We've done a little bit of pro analysis. Have a crack at using it in your solo queue games, and if you've made it all the way through to the end, consider liking the video, click on one of these videos up in the top corner, and enjoy your day, enjoy grinding, get some ELO, play some Pokemon Unite.